I'm David. I'm the Inside Sales Director at Cognism. I look after everything sales-wise. And Dave did 6 months as a SDR, prospecting, booking meetings, quickly moved through the ranks. As of late, he's actually been BDM for us, closing deals and working on the other side. I've obviously asked him to come on the session with us today. I think he'll give us great insight into what it's like to be on the front line. What are the conversations like? How are they leading? Because I think it's something that we've discussed quite a lot with companies that have reached out to us. Is like, what kind of conversations do we have to have with prospects once we get on the phone?
So it's quite an interesting point that you raised. So I think the kind of key difference between, let's say, before all of the uncertainty in the market and during is kind of how quickly we go to business in terms of our conversations. So that's not to say that we're not leading with business value and we're not selling anymore, because we absolutely are. It's a great time to add value to a lot of businesses. But I think one thing that I've made quite a significant change on is actually being a little bit more sincere and actually finding out over what's going on specifically in that person's company. Are they being severely affected by the current climate, or is it business as usual? Just taking a more proactive approach into finding out how that business is currently adapting to the climate. So where before I would go directly in with, let's say, a small value proposition, it's been a little bit different. I've had to personalize it a little bit more, do a little bit more research on that specific company to see how they might be getting affected. So I guess the key difference here is the way that I'm approaching it is a lot more sensitive and being a lot more mindful of the fact that not everyone is having such a great time as other people might be.
So the identification of opportunities, I think this is a really, really important point. Topo, if any of you guys are aware of Topo, again, if you want to shoot me a message on LinkedIn or connect on LinkedIn, I can send you the exact article that they did. But they ran some surveys, and one thing that's very clear is how important buyer intent is for us, salespeople right now. Because especially right now, we don't know who our buyers are, or potentially that our buyers have changed, and so getting that intent is that early indicator of who we're gonna be able to sign long term. So we've got a couple of recommendations, but it's not direct buyer intent. It's not someone Googling our service, but other ways that we could potentially find that people are still willing to buy. Obvious ones, I know we discussed that, we've just got some funding and we're not buying, but that's not to suggest that not everyone is. And I think funding, as always, and Safe will show this because you can actually do this within the platform. Funding is a great way of doing that. You can get that information from Crunchbase as well. Anybody that's received seed, angel, Series A, Series B, they've got money in their pockets. Hopefully they're more willing to buy. Hiring is fantastic. We've got a team that actually helps our SDRs find new prospects, and they're looking at hiring data, and we're getting results immediately. If companies are still hiring, they're still making buying decisions. It's pretty much a fact. Yes, they might be hiring replacements, but which is, I suppose, the caveat to that. But if they're hiring for any new roles, expanding their team, then naturally this is going to be like a fantastic way of identifying new opportunities. Finally, also FTSE 250, let's look at if any of you guys are going after bigger enterprise companies, and a lot of their information on share prices is public. Look at that, who's trending up in that sense, and picking up that data, and again, should be great opportunities to reach out. I'll mention as well a bit of a shout out to G2. So we use and our clients of G2's service. It's a review site. What they do is they show us who is researching the industry. It will show us a company that is researching the industry. The softwares that we offer. So anybody that's looking at any form of sales intelligence right now, we can get that information from G2. And that's been a key focus for us, is making sure that we're doubling down on that information, because again, this is great indicators. And actually, once we have that information on from G2, we're trying to analyze all of those companies, see any trends, and then still apply it to other companies within that same industry. Final thing that I'll add is anybody within our own customer base that is doing really, really well and wants to double down on our services, again, let's take that, analyze that data and apply that, look for similar companies within their industry, and just make sure that we're reaching out to as many as possible, because they're great indicators. But we're looking for guides right now. I think every company should be looking for guides of who to reach out to. They should be willing to pivot, and these are great ways of kind of identifying those companies. So if I don't know whether you want to add anything else on that.
Yeah, just a couple of really quick points from me. I think, as you mentioned, the buyer intent data that GT.com provide is absolutely fantastic. I think a lot of the ways that companies are approaching this climate right now is they're looking for short-term wins, but they're also looking for long-term wins. So if you're in an industry that targets recruitment or logistics and supply chain, you could actually utilize these triggers such as funding, hiring, FTSE 250 who's still growing, to actually start generating conversations and pipeline for when things do settle down. So for example, I don't know, David, if someone came to you and said, hey, look, we've got this really great solution, and you knew that it could add tremendous value, but maybe not right now, but for later, then for sure that's a great pipeline opportunity for someone. So focusing on the short-term wins, maybe with buyer intent, gives you that quick win, a quick conversation, quick sell cycle, but also by utilizing these triggers here to identify, okay, maybe not right now, but for when the market does get a little bit more normal, it's a fantastic way to make sure that your pipeline stays full for whenever the new normal becomes the old normal.